Yo, let's go and welcome to the video. This is Brutallus, the second boss in Sunwell. We pause it right here. It's kind of dark with it being paused, but just to show I have a range 6, so I'm not standing near any of the DPS in my group or the healers around me in case I get the burn. Or if anybody around me gets it, we did so many attempts that they know where to run to get around to be in range of the dedicated healer. So I started the fight like normal, Fairy Fire, Insect Swarm. Threat does look fine, but just in case, I don't want to rip right off the bat for Brutallus. So Insect Swarm, and then I'll pop my Treants. So it's a very mana intensive fight. So I'm trying to use my Demonic Rune on cooldown as soon as I can. I also just popped a Krieg Stout Beatdown since I had used a little tiny bit of mana. And already I've used a Dark Rune, or Demonic Rune. So I'm keeping an eye for when to use Mana Pot, because we use Bloodlust right away, so I'm just burning through mana really quick here at the start. I think I popped this one a little bit late. I should have already popped the Mana Pot. Once you get about 3k mana used, so for me it'd be 6400, I'd want to have that Mana Pot used already. So if you don't have an improved Divine Spirit Priest and have the Spirit buff from your Priest, I highly suggest getting Spirit Scrolls. This fight was 5 minutes 20 seconds, and I did run into some mana issues. You're most likely going to have to be battle resing for the first month or so. I was asked to hold my Innervate for healers, so even using runes and mana pots on cooldown is a risk of its own, because you're not able to use the Lock Rocks or health pots. So for now I am using band-aids throughout the fight, almost on cooldown, to make sure I'm over 5k health when I have 2 stacks, because I know I'm going to get hit for about 5k. But I'm trying to use my 2 unused trinkets on cooldown, but there's so much to think about. I had a little bit of a delay in using those. I should have used Skull right now. And also downranking. I do end up downranking pretty soon, and I have a rank 6 Starfire bound for when I'm ready to downrank. I also switched to Insect Swarm since I have the tier 5 set bonus. And there goes Innervate on the Priest. I think we double Innervated him because his mana just gets topped instantly. But yeah, since I do have the 4-piece tier 5, I use Insect Swarm to get the set bonus. If I do get low on mana, I did start to switch to that to help. So if you have tier 5, that's one way to help save a little bit of mana. And you can see I'm hitting my R-bind down here. That is my rank 6 Starfire. I didn't want to dip below like 2k mana, just in case I needed to battle res. So Rune is coming off of cooldown. Mana Pot still has like another 45 seconds left on it. So I went ahead and bandaged. You regen a little bit of mana while you're bandaging, but you're not doing DPS. Eventually I'd like to cut that out. But really, if you don't get the burn, or if you're not in anybody's way to move away from getting the burn, you can just stand there and DPS and not have to move at all. So it's really just about managing your mana. Right, so here's another situation that I ran into. Was I was at that 5k HP point, and Rune is off cooldown, and I don't want to lose health and dip below that 5k, so I was kind of holding on to my Rune there at the end. But Mana Pot came off cooldown, and I got to do a little bit of extra damage here at the end of the fight. So looking at my casts, I got 3 uses of my Icon, which eventually I would like the Hex Shrunken Head, but still have Icon. But since it's not a trinket that really drains your mana, I felt a lot more comfortable using this 3 times during the fight, but I only used Skull twice because it is so taxing on our mana bar having that extra haste for 20 seconds. I think once we cut the fight time down a little bit, and if I don't have to battle res on a fight, if I start off the fight with battle res on cooldown and I know I'm not going to have to do it, then I would feel more comfortable using Skull 3 times as well. Only 2 Demonic Runes, because when it came off of cooldown after that second one was when I was hovering around that 5k HP, so only used 2 runes. I had my first Mana Pot a little bit late, so using that as soon as I can is going to allow it to come off cooldown a lot sooner, so I can have that 3rd one earlier at the end of the fight when I really need it. So one thing I did do on my second use of Skull of Gul'dan was that's when I downranked and used my rank 6 Starfire. And I used Insect Swarm a lot just to help with the mana instead of using the Moonfire. But I just got the tier belt, so I'll have the 2-piece tier 6 bonus, allowing Moonfire to stay up for 3 more seconds each Moonfire. So hopefully that'll save me a little bit of mana. So you tier 6 users should have less of a mana issue using your Moonfire than me on this fight. As you can see, standing near your shaman for the mana spring totem gives a lot of mana for this fight. Having a pally with Judgment of Wisdom up on the boss really helps out a lot. Having that Krieg Stout beatdown and Prayer of Spirit for some extra in combat mana regen from all of that spirit really adds up over the fight. I did some paper math or napkin math, whatever you want to call it, and Krieg's gave me enough mana throughout the fight for like 1 extra max ranked Starfire. So not a ton, but that's just from the mana regen. If you were able to use Innervate on yourself, then it would also add additional mana for your Innervate. If you're lucky and you're like me and do not get a burn, that's going to help your DPS since you don't have to run and move. I would suggest going into Travel Form though, as long as your Fairy Fire and Moonfire are up. You could Insect Form too, and then Travel Form, get to your spot, and pop back into Boomkin Form. So you get to that position as fast as you can. Oh yeah, so I downranked with Skull up, but I wanted to max rank with Icon up. So if you have Icon or Hex Shrunken Head, I would try to use your max rank if possible with that trinket up. I think the Boomies with a Shadow Priest in their group are really going to kill it on this fight. They might be able to Destro Pot at least once, not have to worry about mana and down ranking. So Parse-wise, which is what I'm all about trying to get and give advice for, is improving your DPS. That's going to be a huge one for this fight, is having a Shadow Priest in your group. It's a lot easier said than done. I know a lot of raid groups were in the lock group, but if you were trying to parse one week, talk to your raid leader and say, hey, help me out, trying to improve my DPS. I've been supporting you guys all through TBC. Let me try to pump on 1 attempt. And of course, that's going to be the week that you get burned 2 or 3 times. So one last way to help save a little bit of mana is by using snowballs. There's a couple of videos on YouTube, but basically you can throw a snowball macroed into your spells and it could proc the Judgment of Wisdom from the boss, and I think it's 74 mana it'll give you back. So if you get a bunch of procs from throwing snowballs, then you can get a couple extra Starfires worth of mana back from using that. Snowballs were going for about $750 a stack for 20, so you would really be blowing through those snowballs on all of the attempts that you're probably going to have on Brutallus. But if you're really trying to chase that Parse, you'd have to spend maybe 100 gold a week on snowballs, but sometimes you got to pay to Parse. That's it for Brutallus, and I'll see you in Fellmist.